Now at 5, some area attorneys general join a lawsuit against the Biden administration's student loan forgiveness plan. Plus, a local animal shelter warns of scammers pretending to be them. And parts of Florida deal with heavy flooding, and Ian continues to make its way through the states.
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
Missouri, Kansas, and Arkansas are among 6 states suing to stop the student loan forgiveness program. This is KOAM News at 5. The federal plan would reduce some student loan debt for people who meet income guidelines. Attorneys general who filed the suit today claim it's unfair. Missouri Attorney General Eric Schmidt adds, quote, "The Biden administration's unlawful edict will only worsen inflation at a time when many Americans are struggling to get by." Kansas Attorney General Derek Schmidt says, quote, "This political move by the Biden administration has everything to do with election year politics, but is not authorized by law." The Biden administration today did scale back the program to exclude borrowers from privately held federal loans. The White House continues to argue the plan is legal and claims Republican officials in the 6 suing states are standing with special interests. A Joplin animal rescue shelter is warning people about scammers posing as shelter representatives. The scammers are going through the Golden Paws Animal Rescue Facebook comments, telling people that they're starting to breed and sell dogs. When they receive payments, they cut contact.
It affects how people perceive us, because we are a shelter of taking care of animals. We're not in the business of selling dogs. We're not a breeder. So it affects us as far as what people perspect us to be, because we are a shelter and we're a nonprofit shelter, and we're a rescue shelter at that. We're not a breeder situation.
Gardner says the scammers are in no way affiliated with Golden Paws. Nicer temperatures bring more motorcycles on the road, so a school in southeast Kansas is teaching students how to look out for safety concerns. Fort Scott Community College Harley-Davidson Technician Training School teaches everything from mechanical work to safety. According to an instructor, it's not always about what you wear, but how prepared your bike is for the road conditions.
We teach students to do a walk-around inspection, tread depth, tire pressures, belt tensions, make sure all the lighting, safety controls are functioning correctly.
Instructors also say loose grass blown on the roads from mowers is very dangerous for motorcycles. Let's check in with Doug Hetty for a first look at the weather.
Well, Dow, it's turned out to be another fantastic day. Yes, we need the rain, but at least we are seeing nice days when it's not raining, clear skies outside like we have seen all week long. In fact, the entire Central Plains, we have clear skies across the region. This is going to continue as we go through the evening hours. A little bit cooler on the Missouri side, 73 in Stockton. We have 77 in Miami, 78 in Oswego, 80 in Yates Center. And as we go through the evening hours at 6 p.m., 73, 64 by 8, down to 58 by 10. But look at our overnight low, 47 degrees, so chilly. Later on tonight, we continue with the chilly nights over the next several nights. We are going to warm up a bit for the weekend. We do have some rain chances by next week. Of course, you can get my long-range forecast on the month-long blog, KOAMnewsnow.com. We'll look into the weekend here in just a bit.
See you then. Florida's governor is calling Hurricane Ian a 500-year flood event. The powerful Category 4 storm made landfall in the southwestern part of the state, causing catastrophic destruction, still wreaking havoc across parts of the central and eastern Florida areas. There have been at least 1 confirmed death. Millions of people are without power. Reporter Christian Benavides has the latest from Orlando.
Sanibel Island streets looked like rivers the day after the southwestern Florida community took a direct hit from Hurricane Ian. The powerful storm caused flooding and fires and destroyed a chunk of the causeway, cutting off access to the barrier island.
It got hit with really biblical storm surge, and it washed away roads, it washed away structures.
Nearby Fort Myers also suffered widespread devastation. Downtown business owners surveyed the damage. Storm surge flooded the entire first floor of Wink TV, the CBS affiliate in Fort Myers, knocking the station off the air. State officials say the next couple of days are going to be critical for response teams, and they are urging people not to survey the damage themselves.
Let the crews get in there, do what they need to do. We're coming in full force. We've got a lot of people coming in there. We need you out of our way so we can get our job done.
While no longer a hurricane, the storm is far from over. In St. Augustine on the East Coast, heavy winds and storm surge pummeled the beach community. In Kissimmee, rescue crews brought a trapped family to safety.
They were just holding the baby. Somebody was standing on top of the dining room holding them up. But the water is at least halfway up the house.
Residents along Georgia's coast are getting ready for Ian.
We got all of our bags the last few days.
Oh, wow.
And we're putting sump pumps in now.
Georgia's governor says while the state will be affected, the damage isn't expected to be nearly as bad as the destruction in Florida. Christian Benavides, CBS News, Orlando, Florida.
The National Hurricane Center says there is a danger of life-threatening storm surge through Friday along the coasts of Florida, Georgia, and South Carolina. President Biden personally thanked workers at the Federal Emergency Management Agency after he received a briefing on Ian. He's already approved federal disaster funds for 9 Florida counties, and the White House says more areas could be added to that list as officials evaluate the damage. On Capitol Hill, lawmakers also pledged to do everything in their power to assist those affected. Vice President Kamala Harris condemned North Korea's provocative nuclear rhetoric as she met with South Korea's president today in Seoul. She visited the demilitarized zone that divides North and South Korea and emphasized America's commitment to the security of its Asian allies. North Korea fired 2 short-range ballistic missiles yesterday, adding to its record-breaking blitz of weapons tests this year. Still ahead, preparing for the worst.
Many economists believe the U.S. is headed for a recession. I'm CBS News business analyst Jill Schlesinger with tips to protect yourself.
And next in Health Watch, why doctors are spending September trying to raise awareness of head lice prevention. Topping today's Health Watch, drug makers say they've made progress with a new antibody to treat Alzheimer's. Eisai and Biogen's drug called lecanemab, was shown to slow cognitive decline among Alzheimer's patients by 27%. The drug is still only in the clinical trial phase. Doctors have developed a robotic device that can deliver drugs into the body more effectively than pills. Brigham and Women's Hospital researchers say the device looks just like a pill and is swallowed. Once in the stomach, it clears away mucus, allowing drugs to be more easily absorbed. The month of September is when doctors try to bring awareness to head lice prevention. As children go back to school, this is the time of year when cases increase. Reporter Michael George has more.
They're a nuisance and can lead to a lot of stress for both kids and their parents. Head lice. Now, for the first time in years, the American Academy of Pediatrics is updating its guidance on controlling and treating head lice. The group says the nits are not a health hazard or a sign of poor hygiene, but can have significant stigma and cause psychological stress. The report highlights first-line treatments, including shampoos, lotions, and other FDA-approved products containing pyrethroids. When it comes to lice screening programs in schools, the AAP says they don't have a real impact on cases and may create more stigma for children suspected of having lice. It's estimated about 6 to 12 million lice infestations occur every year in the U.S. among kids aged 3 to 11. The report says students should not be restricted from attending school because of head lice. And while it's impossible to prevent all cases, it's important to teach kids not to share combs and brushes, as well as hats and pillows. Michael George, CBS News, New York.
The report also says parents should avoid lice products without FDA approval, since evidence is lacking on how effective they might be. Your dog can smell when you're stressed. That's according to a new report. A small study at Queen's University Belfast took samples of dog owners' breath and sweat before and after doing difficult math problems. Their dogs were able to identify the difference between the samples. Scientists say the results showed dogs have the ability to smell the odor of stress in humans. And that is a look at today's health news. A little bit later, President Biden sends a warning to oil companies as Ian rolls through Florida.
Plus another chilly night ahead, and we're going to look into the weekend coming up next. Well, it definitely turned out to be another great day for us today. We've had a string of really nice afternoons, early fall-like weather, clear skies, and that's what we have once again today. Nice shot at Indigo Sky Casino and Resort, of course, just outside of Seneca, Missouri. We've had the nice days, but we need the rain. Look at this. This is our updated drought tracker. Exceptional drought. So now Barton County, Jasper County, most of southeastern Kansas, even in the brighter red, this is an extreme drought. So the entire four-state area really needs some rain, and we just don't have much in the forecast. In fact, if September's almost over, look at this. We go down as the third driest September of all time. 2013 was the driest when we only had 0.2 of an inch. And if we look back at June, we were almost 3.5 inches behind. July, we're almost 3 inches behind. We did end up 1.5 inches above in August, but we're almost 4 inches behind this month. So that just keeps feeding that drought. So we need some widespread heavy amounts of rain. Unfortunately, we're just not going to get it. 74 in Neosho, 79 in Parsons, 80 in Neodesha. Looks great. 7th and range line. We can look outside. 75 easterly winds at about 10. Humidity is low. 25% by 6, 73, 64 by 8, 58 by 10. Look at that. We drop all the way down to 47 degrees a little bit later on tonight. Nothing going on here. Entire Central Plains, pretty quiet. Here's our next storm system. It's gonna take its time making it here. The reason why is Ian. He's gonna kind of lock up across southeastern parts of the U.S. and kind of block up the pattern. But Ian's back out across the ocean. Tropical storm should become a hurricane once again and make another landfall. It's a Category 1 hurricane. It's going to track up and should make landfall again tomorrow afternoon into South Carolina. And then as we go down the road, look, it just kind of sits the eastern third of the country. So it blocks the pattern up, meaning we don't get any storm systems in here for several days. Let's go through time. During the overnight hours tonight, clear skies. I'll stop at 6:30 in the morning. Look at these lows, 46. Lamar, 49 in Welch, 50 in Independence. We warm up quickly, lower 70s by noon. During the afternoon, I think most of us kind of in that 78 to 80 degree range. As we go into tomorrow night, another chilly night, upper 40s to near 50, a few mid and upper level clouds kind of streaming through. And then Saturday looks pretty good. High temperatures, mostly sunny skies again, right around 80 degrees as we head into the afternoon hours. So here's your day planner. 48 to start, 70 by noon, 77 by 5, high temperature, great, 79 degrees. Let's move to tomorrow evening. We got four-state, Friday night, high school football. We're holding onto decent weather. Look at this, kickoff 74 degrees, 66 by the fourth quarter, so a perfect night for high school football tomorrow evening. 78 tomorrow, 49 tomorrow night, 81 Saturday, 82 on Sunday. We kind of hold into lower 80s, very consistent over the next several days. But we do get at least slight chances for rain next Wednesday and Thursday. Unfortunately, this is not a big system. It's not going to be widespread rain, but at least we have the chance.
You're telling me there's a chance.
There's a chance.
Thanks, Doug. The world's glaciers are melting like never before, and a new report shows ice in Switzerland is shrinking at record rates. Scientists blame the destruction on climate change and say if greenhouse gas emissions keep rising, 90% of glaciers in the Alps could vanish by the end of the century. Researchers estimate Greenland will lose 120 trillion tons of ice over the next 80 years. Coming up, some tips to prepare for a possible recession. First, though, we honor a local veteran. Lawrence Yenny served in the U.S. Navy in 2007. Parsons, Kansas native was stationed in Kuwait, and we salute Lieutenant Commander Lawrence Yenny, a four-state hero. Topping today's Consumer Watch as Hurricane Ian lashed Florida's southwest coast. President Biden warned oil and gas companies not to use the storm as an excuse to raise prices. The president said if that happens, he's going to ask federal officials to determine, quote, whether price gouging is going on. According to AAA, Florida's statewide average for gasoline prices barely budged from a week ago, hovering just under $3.40 a gallon. A spokesperson for the American Petroleum Institute and Oil Industry Group said prices are affected by market forces like supply and demand, not by individual companies. American businesses are still adding workers. The Labor Department reports the number of first-time unemployment benefits claims, they tumbled to 193,000 last week. Weekly claims haven't fallen below 200,000 since May of this year, and the amount was much lower than the 215,000 applications forecasted by economists, according to Refinitiv. Analysts say this shows companies are doing their best to hold on to workers as vacant positions remain high. Amazon announced it's raising its average starting pay for warehouse and transportation workers by about $1 to more than $19 an hour. The move comes as the online retail giant faces a giant labor market ahead of the holiday shopping season. Beginning next month, so-called frontline workers would earn between $16 and $26 an hour. Inflation is near a 40-year high, and the Federal Reserve is hiking interest rates aggressively. That has a lot of economists warning of a possible recession within the next year. CBS News business analyst Jill Schlesinger has some tips to help protect yourself if a recession happens.
Many countries define a recession as 2 quarters of negative growth. But here in the U.S., the National Bureau of Economic Research's Business Cycle Dating Committee is responsible for determining the beginning and end of recessions. To do so, they analyze different indicators and usually make the call after the fact. Recessions are part of the economic cycle, with varying degrees of magnitude and length. To prepare for the next downturn, whenever it occurs, make sure that your emergency reserve fund can cover 6 to 12 months of living expenses. If you're already retired, consider making that 1 to 2 years worth of expenses to avoid being forced to sell assets at lower levels just to pay the bills. Keep this money in an accessible savings, checking, or money market account. Next, reduce credit card or any high-interest debt, especially if you're currently employed. Finally, if you're considering a job change, be careful not to make a decision that's based solely on more money. After all, when economies turn south, it's often the last person hired who's the first one out the door. In New York, I'm CBS News business analyst Jill Schlesinger.
Survivors and family members of several of those killed in the mass shooting at a Highland Park, Illinois Independence Day parade are suing gunmaker Smith & Wesson. They filed 11 lawsuits against the manufacturer of the rifle used in the attack, accusing the company of illegally targeting its ads at young men at risk of committing mass violence. 7 people were killed, dozens injured in that rampage last July 4th. Smith & Wesson did not immediately respond to messages seeking comment about that lawsuit. A final check of the forecast next.
Salon service.
Up next on the CBS Evening News, why some scientists flew a drone straight into the eye of Hurricane Ian. Then on KOAM News at 6, some Joplin City employees are going to get a pay raise. Plus, Missouri lawmakers pass an income tax cut, and Pitt State announces its enrollment numbers. Stay with us for the CBS Evening News and then KOAM News at 6. All right, look at this. This is the latest shot from the James Webb Space Telescope, a spiral galaxy 29 million light years from Earth. It's called IC 5332, kind of a boring name for such a cool looking galaxy. Look at the white spiral arms. NASA calls them the bones of the galaxy, which are typically hard to see because of dust. Experts say they've had pictures of this galaxy before, but none have had anything like this level of detail.
It's not too far away.
29 million light years is how far away that is. That's pretty far away.
Okay, it's a little bit of a jaunt.
It's a great big universe out there, Douglas. The weather and temperature is not too bad.
Yeah, it actually looks pretty good. Chilly tonight. We're going to drop back into the upper 40s. 79 tomorrow, 80 Saturday, 82 on Sunday. So we are staying pretty consistent with a nice early fall-like weather, and we need some rain in here. So hopefully next week we get some.
Thanks for joining us. CBS Evening News is next. Of course, we're going to be right back here for KOAM News at 6. See you then. Let's make it a great evening.